They've been preparing for months for this moment, and everybody does their best to pass every obstacle. But Nadia falls from one of the obstacles and sprains her ankle. The movie begins in the spring of 1917, following the February Revolution. A military officer named Nikolai arrives from the front lines. He rides a horse carriage to St. Petersburg, and the coachman tells him that the city has been in chaos ever since Alexander Kerensky had been in charge. Meanwhile, Nadia beautifully sings a masterpiece, when suddenly, Fraska, their maidservant, runs over and excitedly hands her the letter from the front. Nadia eagerly opens it, and a blue medallion falls off. The letter states that her fiancé, Petya, had been heavily injured in the war, and she starts to burst out in tears at the news. Seconds later, Vera, Nadia's friend, enters their home and hears about the distressing news. Vera says she will get revenge, as she'll be joining the newly formed Bolshevik Women's Battalion and is only there to bid farewell to them. Also wanting revenge, Nadia tells her mother she'll do the same without hesitation and runs off after Vera. Nadia's mother orders Fraska to stop and bring her back. She bribes her with jewelry and cash to get Nadia back. At the same time, Nikolai arrives at the Russian army's headquarters, where the generals, including Kerensky, plan to hold out the German advance. One of the generals tells the committee that none of the soldiers are combat ready, as claims of false freedoms blind them. They present a video showing many Russian soldiers fraternizing with the enemy as the Germans encourage them to revolt while offering alcohol and food rations. Kerensky is furious about the report and orders them to stop playing the video. Some members suggested the death penalty should be placed, but Tseplayev tells them about the Bolshevik Women's Battalion he made. He states it aims to raise the morale in the army and encourage everyone to fight. He orders General Polovtsova to oversee preparations for sending the battalion to the front. Soon, news about the women's battalion spreads, and hundreds of women voluntarily enlist to participate. Ladies from all cultures, backgrounds, and socio-economic classes line up for enlistment. One of the applicants, Evdokia, surprises her lover, Alexei, by enlisting. Alexei tries to persuade her not to, but she insists so that she can be with him. Later, Nikolai rejects Dusia as a candidate because she is too fat. Dusia bends a metal poker with her bare hands to impress everyone so she can enlist. Unbeknownst to her, the battalion commander, Maria Bochkareva, is watching her. Maria appoints Dusia as her deputy and orders Nikolai to proceed with her enlistment. Then, Maria meets a general outside who says that while he doesn't have a son, but has a daughter, Natalia Tatascheva, who he offers to join the battalion. Maria welcomes the well-trained lady without hesitation. After the enlistment and examinations, all women are required to entirely cut their hair, with a few of them immediately backing out and most of them being brave enough to do it. After their haircuts, the recruits are taught to stay in proper formation while their commander, Maria, formally introduces herself and her comrades. That night at the barracks, Galina, another recruit, starts a commotion by being a bully. When Galina tries to hit Evdokia, Natalia stops her. Unfortunately, as Vera asks Dusia to keep things in order, she sides with Galina after being offered the best bed spot. Dusia tries to abuse her power, but unbeknownst to her, Maria is behind them. After hearing everything, Maria agrees to let them exchange beds and transfers the deputy position to Natalia. She orders Dusia to give up the banner, then gives it to Natalia. As the dawn breaks, Maria wakes them all up to prepare for their first training as soldiers with a long run, while Natalia experiences stomach cramps. They reach a downhill but hesitate to move. They are threatened to go home if they won't. On the way down, many lose their balance and stumble. Later, they arrive at the beach to finish multiple obstacle courses. Each day passes, and they start to get used to the obstacles, with their stamina and strength gradually building up while they continue training. They are taught how to fire a gun and the indications of a gas attack. There is a growing attraction between Vera and Nikolai. Alexei continuously helps Evdokia through training. To awaken their inner violence, Maria instructs Galina and Natalia to step forward and order them to hit each other. However, Natalia refuses as Galina continues hitting her, and Maria keeps pressuring her. She eventually snaps and attacks her. Maria then does this to the other women as part of their training. At night, Galina sees Evdokia sneaking out to see her lover, Nikolai. She keeps this information to herself until she requests the commander to meet her lover. However, Maria declines her request, infuriating Galina. She blurts out that Evdokia escapes every night to meet her lover. Disappointed for snitching on a fellow soldier, Maria punches Galina. Galina says she will create a committee to give them freedom and equality. Maria beats her again and orders her to leave to get the freedom she wants outside the army. One day, Nadia's mother talks with Maria in hopes of getting her daughter out of military training. She hands the commander a letter and informs her that Nadia is a singer and has the opportunity to travel and perform abroad. She also reveals that she paid Fraska to take care of Nadia. Later, Nadia and Fraska were called into the commander's office. Nadia then learns about her mother paying Fraska with jewelry so that she can take care of her. Fraska feels ashamed and walks out of the room. On the other hand, Nadia refuses to leave the army and tells her mother that she'll be staying to serve. With no other choice, her mother leaves and respects her daughter's decision. As she leaves, Fraska rushes to give back the jewelry and goes back in line with the soldiers. Fraska returns the jewelry used as payment since she genuinely wants to serve alongside Nadia, and also returns Petya's blue medallion to Nadia. Later, a truck arrives, and the officers tell Maria that she is under arrest, as per orders of General Polovtsova. The recruits could only watch as they saw their commander taken away. She arrives at Polovtsova's office and discovers that Galina filed a complaint against her. Upon Galina's request, she is to create a military committee led by her. Maria reacts by spitting on her hand and gesturing at the complainants. The general decides to dissolve the battalion, stripping Maria of her rank and imprisoning her for insubordination. Soon, the Bochkareva battalion marches outside the headquarters. As Maria's deputy, Natalia forces her into the general's office and tries to persuade Polovtsova to release their commander. She explains that everybody in the entire battalion is part of the committee, hence, there's no need for one, and Maria should be released. After being dismissed by the general, Natalia returns to the formation and waits for a result. Determined for Maria to be released, they stay in formation day to night, rain or shine. The next morning, Polovtsova sees the ladies still in formation. Amazed by their loyalty and persistence, he takes back Maria's punishment. However, he demands that if one of them fails the evaluation, they'll all go to the front and will dissolve the battalion. That night, Natalia's servant, Serafima, cries aloud and attracts the attention of the others. Natalia admits that she is pregnant. Maria has no other choice but to let her leave the army. She then instructs all women to line up and thanks Natalia for protecting them. Before Natalia leaves, Maria transfers the banner and duty of being the deputy to Vera. The following day, the battalion's final evaluation commences. They've been preparing for months for this moment, and everybody does their best to pass every obstacle. But Nadia falls from one of the obstacles and sprains her ankle. Vera and Fraska don't leave Nadia and help her with the remainder of the course, but Maria is angry at them since they are too late. Fraska explains that they are only instructed to complete the obstacle without any time limit. Realizing she's right, Polovtsova declares that the whole battalion has passed the exam and will take an oath to integrate into the regular army. Soon, the battalion heads for the front lines. Nadia sees her fiancé, Petya, injured and unconscious at the train station. She quickly kisses him and gives him back his medallion. Nadia quickly gets on the train, not knowing that Petya has gained consciousness. Moments later, while on a break from the march, they enjoy their time at a nearby pond, but the sounds of numerous men running towards them alarm the ladies. Maria orders everyone to get in a defensive formation. They quickly point their guns at the Russian soldiers who lost their will to fight the Germans. Maria then berates the men aggressively. Fortunately, a few soldiers recognized Maria as a comrade for saving their lives years back. That made the male soldiers respect them and leave. Almost at the front, Maria meets up with the dispirited colonel. He admits he couldn't control his men, who all lost the will to fight. Maria asks him to put the women on the front line of the war, which he approves. After arriving at the trenches, the soldiers settle in. Then, 2 German soldiers approach to bribe them with food and alcohol. But the lady soldiers are loyal to their cause. Vera is suspicious of their enemy, reads their little notebook, and informs their commander they are spies. They hold them at gunpoint, and when they run away, Dusia stabs one of them to death, and she cries since it is her first time ending someone's life. Maria orders Evdokia and another soldier to escort the other German to their headquarters. Along the way, the other soldier sprains her ankle by falling in a trench, leaving Evdokia the only one to escort the German. She underestimates the German who acts friendly, and when the opportunity arises, he chokes Evdokia to death. The others find Evdokia's body, and Maria cries as she carries her. Everyone mourns her death, especially her lover, Alexei. A month later, the women are still guarding the front when a surprise gas attack occurs. Fraska quickly gives out masks but realizes that none is left for her. She is then intoxicated by the gas and eventually dies on the spot. Maria orders her troops to attack, and the 2 armies meet in the middle at close-quarter combat. Many Russians died in the battle, but they managed to overwhelm the Germans and have them retreat. Dusia is a powerful soldier in the field but left her shell-shocked. Following the encounter, Maria personally requests help from the colonel. However, it's denied, stating that his troops are criminals and traitors who won't listen to his command. She sees how ashamed he is of this from the colonel's face, and she lets it go. As Maria leaves to return to the front line, the men confront him and call out her husband. The pair hits one another. She tries to fight back while the colonel hears the commotion outside but chooses to fall on deaf ears. Maria's husband ends up beating her until she's unconscious. Later, Maria weakly recovers and returns to her girls. Meanwhile, videos about the Bolshevik women's battalion fighting against the Germans without any male soldiers reaches the higher-ranked officers. Russian Colonel Leonidovich discusses that it's evident that no soldier's regiment wants to take action except for the Bolshevik battalion. Then, Petya accidentally drops the tea when he sees his injured fiancée in the video. After the meeting, Petya asks Leonidovich for permission to go to the front. Leonidovich then tells him that they will go together and fight in the war. As night falls, the battalion prays together before their surprise attack against the Germans. The Russians crawl toward the German positions in the cover of darkness. Maria orders Vera to take the lead of the charge once she gives the signal. Their plan commences, and the enemy springs into action and gets several kills. Still, the Russians have the upper hand by using the element of surprise. The colonel awakens to the sound of a gunfight. His aide informs the officer that the Bolshevik has survived the attack since midnight. Fierce close-quarter combat in the trenches ensues. Both sides suffer heavy casualties, but the Russians push back the Germans to their initial positions. Dusia picks up a machine gun and kills many enemies. Meanwhile, Alexei leads a charge but gets hit in the neck, killing him instantly. After the carnage, the troops line up, and Maria rewards Dusia with her watch for her bravery and contribution to advance. After that, Maria orders Vera and Nadia to again ask for help from the male troops, but not a sole volunteer. Colonel Leonidovich and Petya later arrive to volunteer to fight on the front lines. The male soldiers hold them at gunpoint to stop them by stating that officers don't take part in combat. And so, Leonidovich and the other officers strip their insignia. The Germans attack to take the position back. Another fierce firefight ensues. While operating the machine gun, Nikolai dies, and when Vera tries to take over, she gets hit and dies, falling on her lover. The ladies are cornered into a dead end, and the Germans surround them. They say their last prayers with no escape and little to no other alternative. All of a sudden, they start to hear rumbling footsteps. The movie ends with the officers and the other soldiers arriving to back them up from the Germans, as the last battle of the Bolshevik women's battalion. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.